And what's hot in today's fashions.
And also for the United States national team, quite a few changes since some of their top players have signed in the European leagues, whether they can pull their team together.
This Budweiser Challenge Cup Series began at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The two teams playing to a 1-1 tie. And head coach Bob Gansler of the U.S. national team termed it a true learning experience, the game in Kansas City.
Well, we saw our opponent, and I must congratulate them. They played very well. I thought tactically they were well prepared and very disciplined. I think what we have to do today, we have to play it a little quicker than we did the other night, and find a couple of new wrinkles on how to beat the offside trap.
In Game 1 in Kansas City, the indoor players had to adjust. The outdoor players also had to adjust. A shorter field and artificial turf. Today, it will be the indoor players who must make the major adjustment.
Well, this will be the deciding match in the Budweiser Challenge, and it's a situation where there's some guys that have talked a lot about whether some of the indoor players should have been with the World Cup team in Italy, and also an opportunity for some of the outdoor players to maybe prove that they can really do it against hardened professionals from that indoor league.
So we're set for the opening kickoff. We'll be coming up soon with opening kickoff action in the Budweiser Challenge Cup. The 1990 Budweiser Challenge Cup on Sports Channel America is brought to you by Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. We pause now for a regional break. You're watching Sports Channel America.
See America's top annual equestrian extravaganza when Range Rover presents the National Horse Show, a U.S. Olympic Showcase exclusive. Live at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Sports Channel America, October 31st.
Set. It's not simply a game. It's an era of fitness, health, muscle development, body toning, beauty, and power. It's the era of soul effect. Become a part of it. Call anytime for a free brochure.
If you've ever struggled with a handheld trimmer, you'll love this revolutionary new kind of trimmer on wheels. Just look how easy it rolls on those two big wheels and glides in any direction on this front-mounted mobile. It's perfect for trimming around rocks, along fences, buildings, sidewalks, and in all those hard-to-reach corners. The new DR is also a mower. It cuts tall grass, waist-high weeds, even wet grass and rough areas with never-before ease. There's no steel blade to bend or dull. You'll just love what the DR trimmer mower can do for you and your property. A big color catalog is just $2. Call toll-free 1-800-238-3100. That's 1-800-238-3100 for your big color catalog all about the revolutionary DR trimmer on wheels.
The Chicago Blackhawks, a hard-working troop with their sights set on being the best. The Toronto Maple Leafs, rekindling a once proud franchise with youth and speed. Chicago versus Toronto or Buffalo versus the Islanders on Sports Channel America tonight.
From the St. Louis Soccer Park, it's the Budweiser Challenge Cup, as the Major Soccer League Select team squares off against the U.S. national team.
For the MSL Select team, one of their best players, a midfielder, is Preki. Extremely quick cutting the ball. He was the player of the match in Friday night's game. Ted Eck up front for them wearing number 12. Strong, powerful runner. He scored the goal in the game Friday night for the MSL Select. Eichmann playing midfield for the U.S. national team, the player of the game in their game against Trinidad just about 3 weeks ago. A creative playmaker. Bruce Murray, who was Eichmann's teammate at Clemson University. Murray has now surpassed everyone for goals for the United States national team in full international play.
Needless to say, a big challenge for both squads, Ty. The opening kickoff is coming up. It's the Budweiser Challenge Cup from the St. Louis Soccer Park.
Nothing beats number one. Nothing beats the king of beers. Nothing beats clean, crisp, and cold. This We got it right here. Nothing beats the bud, yeah, nothing beats the bud, yeah, nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the bud.
Time and time again, for professional photographers and amateurs as well, the world's great pictures are trusted to the same brand of film, Kodak. Why trust your great pictures to anything less?
Raul Dominguez brings the two teams towards the midfield circle as we're getting set for the opening kickoff of this Budweiser Challenge Cup. And in game one, it was a 1-1 tie at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Mark Dodd was in goal for the U.S. national team. He remains in goal this afternoon, but a change for the MSL Select team.
Zoltan Toth, formerly of the San Diego Sockers, recently signed by the St. Louis Storm, so he's performing in front of his hometown fans now. He'll be in goal for the MSL Select team, an extremely experienced goalkeeper.
Here we go. The U.S. national team kicks off. Eric Eichmann with the ball. Desmond Armstrong on the right side. Armstrong brings the ball towards the midfield stripe. This is what the MSL Select team did in game one on Friday night, utilizing the midfield and really bottling up the U.S. national team.
It's a tactic that may be a little bit more difficult for them to implement today because of the dimensions of this field and also the surface of this field. In Kansas City, the field was only 100 yards long. Here it is a full 120, so there's more space in behind those defenders when they push up into the midfield, trying to create an offside trap situation. And also the grass will hold the ball for any defenders running from deeper lying positions.
The MSL Select team in the dark blue or black uniforms, the U.S. national team in white. Good crowd on hand at the St. Louis Soccer Park, just outside of St. Louis. Long throw in, knocked out of bounds. Marcelo Balboa, he is headed to the San Diego Sockers of the MSL this season. Has not yet signed a contract. Here's Brian Bliss trying to work his way out of trouble. Nice cross out in front and fired wide. And a foul in the penalty area.
Some good work, though, down the left side by Claudio de Oliveira, a Brazilian player who cut that ball inside. Byrne, however, did push as he tried to get to the ball at the near post.
They work the right side. U.S. national soccer team. Desmond Armstrong brings it forward. He is a player with MSL experience. Here's Vermees trying to work his way around Daryl Duran, and Duran, a nice defensive play to break that play up.
Duran sweeping for the MSL Select team, and for the MSL Select team, a very definite game plan that they implemented Friday night, as we said, and that is to keep the play as tight as possible at midfield because they're more used to playing in tight spaces than the U.S. national team is from their indoor experience.
Marcelo Balboa with the throw in towards the penalty area. Ball knocked loose by Toth. Crossed in front and a goal. Peter Vermees, as Toth made a defensive mistake, came out in front and left his goal unattended.
For a goalkeeper, it is different. In outdoor soccer, there's many more crosses and high balls coming in. This one, a long toss deep into the penalty area. Toth thinks he can get to it. There's heavy traffic. He's interfered with slightly. He couldn't get through it. Vermees does it very well on the full turn to get around the ball, keep it down low, and manage to put it into what was an unattended goal. Another look at it from the back angle. You see Murray going up there, causing some problems and getting in the way of Toth. The ball dropping down. Vermees, an opportunist, as all forwards should be, puts it away.
Is outdoor soccer like riding a bicycle? Does it come back to you that quickly? Now the national team will move it forward.
Come on, better ball.
Here's Preki breaking that play up.
Well, Kevin, that's one of the issues that is being talked about here because last spring, as the United States was preparing to send their first team to a World Cup in over 40 years, there was talk some of these players should be a part of that team.
Ball crossed in front. Desmond Armstrong breaks it up. Here's the shot by Byrne, the save by Mark Dodd.
And the issue there was, can an indoor player, a player who's been playing for the most part indoor over the last several years and certainly over the months leading right up to a World Cup, can they adjust to the outdoor game in time to be a factor for the U.S. team? And Gansler's opinion was that no, because he went with players that had been playing entirely outdoor as a part of the national team's programs and didn't really consider MISL players for a couple reasons, among those whether you can make the transition. And I'm not sure if Toth showed whether he just made that transition yet with those high balls.
Ball played to Preki. Preki out of Yugoslavia cuts the ball right side. Here's Kim Rundfed from the Kansas City Comets. His crossing pass headed away by Desmond Armstrong. Armstrong, number 15, with MSL experience, but a veteran of this U.S. national team. A corner kick coming up. Ball played in to number 10, Kim Rundfed. He lobs a pass, headed out of there. Byrne tries to cross it. Instead, Eric Eichmann. U.S. national team playing on what could almost be considered its home field. Natural grass, wider, longer dimensions.
Beautiful
Eichmann.
ball by Eichmann there. Clavijo is just so quick, though, and that's one of the keys to the defense for the MSL Select team. They're able to play that risky type of tactic of pushing up a lot and playing flat across the back because a player of Clavijo's experience and speed can still recover in those type of situations.
Here's Eichmann with a steal, moving forward for the U.S. national team. He wears number 20. Play broken up, though, by Claudio de Oliveira. MSL Select team moves forward Mike Sweeney. He was a replacement, a substitute in Game 1 of this Budweiser Challenge Cup. Now Ted Eck, he scored the lone MSL Select team goal. Byrne aggressively forechecking, but Bliss clears it out for the U.S. national team. The MSL Select team in Game 1 really bottled up the midfield. If you're going to break that and avoid the offside trap, how do you do it?
Well, the U.S. has a few weapons at hand. One of their problems in battling this type of tactic is they're using some new faces. There are players that are not here that normally operate in the United States midfield. Tab Ramos, who's playing in the 2nd division in Spain. John Harkes, who's having some tryouts over in England. They are the ones that have the idea and the coordination to break through offside traps with their forward players, such as Murray and Vermees.
Duran can't hold. Here's Banks crossing in front. Ball loose. Toth comes down with it. Zoltan Toth out of Hungary, defected in 1980. What a story that is. Nice cross. Leading Preki. See Preki go one-on-one with Desmond Armstrong. Gives way to Chico Borja. Borja has the ball deflect off of Desmond Armstrong. Throw into the area. They find Ted Eck. He's quickly double-teamed. And the ball cleared out of the area. Ahead it comes. Peter Vermees. He has the lone U.S. national team goal. And an offside. 9 offsides against the U.S. national team in Game 1. That is one area I would think, Ty, they will have to improve upon.
It certainly was a problem for them, and it certainly was a weapon for the MSL Select team. They're trying to employ it again, as I said, a bit more riskily under these particular dimensions of field and surface. But again, if they are going to beat it, they're going to need to either dribble through it, perhaps, switch the point of attack to the opposite side where maybe just beating one man would do it, or running players from more deep-lying positions. And that's that coordination that I talked about earlier.
Preki run down from behind by Bruce Murray. You get a look at Bob Gansler. Now, there's a guy who's done a tremendous job with his U.S. national team, taking them to the World Cup. First American team to qualify since 1950. David Byrne. They call him Budgie. He wears number 31. Normally wears red shoes. In fact, wore red shoes, indoor types of shoes, in Game 1. Here's a header wide by Teddy Eck, and he did that 3 times in Game 1.
The MSL Select here had a good opportunity as Byrne was lining up. Rundfed runs over it. He puts it inside, and Eck is very strong in the air. He wins that battle, but he had enough pressure on him that he wasn't able to place it as well as he would have liked to, and the ball went just wide.
Great story about Ted Eck we'll relate to you in a moment. He had wanted to go with the U.S. national team to Italy. but because of contractual obligations to the Kansas City Comets of the Major Soccer League, simply could not find the time to do it. Kansas City with a number of injuries this past season that necessitated the use of Ted Eck. Here's Duran leading Kim Rundstedt, number 10. Nice defensive play. Bruce Murray coming back. He was right with him, but the foul whistled against Bruce Murray.
Well, they got tangled up here, and this is a little bit of everything. You see players trying to get that inside track. Murray leaning in. Rundstedt also holding him. But Murray is the one that initiated not playing the ball and playing the man.
U.S. national team leading 1-0 on the goal by Peter Vermees. David Byrne will put the ball into play. Let's see if he gives it to Preki, number 11. He does. Preki out in front, and the ball loose on the goal step, and it's fired wide and deflected. Ted Eck was right there on the doorstep.
And here we see the skillful left foot of Preki. He gets a chance here, and he gets around the ball, puts a heavy swerve on it, which seems to fool Dodd. He doesn't handle it well, and then the goalpost is the only thing that could save him, and the fact that Ted Eck, as he tried to keep it down and on goal, had to hurry his shot.
U.S. national team leading 1-0, bringing the ball forward.
But a wicked swerve on that ball by Preki, and one of the few people in this country that I've seen that had that kind of left foot.
Whistle and a handball ruled by Raul Dominguez. Marty Templin, Casey Frankowitz, the linesman today. Just a perfect day for soccer. Temperature right around 70 degrees. Good crowd on hand at the St. Louis Soccer Park. Here's Chico Moreira. Ahead to David Byrne. He one-times it to the penalty area. Desmond Armstrong there and lays it back into Mark Dodd.
The United States team now, because they've taken the lead early, a little more content to play in their own end and let the MSL Select team come at them a little bit and maybe use up some energy. The United States employing more of a counter-attacking style in trying to offset what is a comeback effort by the MSL Selects.
Mike Sweeney knocks it ahead looking for Ted Eck. U.S. national team comes back the other way. Eric Winalda ridden off the ball momentarily by Moreira. Preki knocks it ahead, gets it back at the midfield line.
You have a camera on Preki as he operates out of midfield. We're going to get an isolation shot on him. He's a player really that can function up near the other team's goal. All he can do is magic at midfield, and he will be a key to the efforts of the United States, the MSL Select team today. And he certainly was on Friday night in that 1-1 tie.
Daryl Duran pushed off Peter Vermees. Foul against the MSL Select team. Boy, this is like a who's who of outdoor and indoor soccer here today. Coaches from a number of the outdoor leagues, from the MSL. They're all here today at the St. Louis Soccer Park. Eric Eichmann will play it in on the restart. Looking out front, Toth is there.
Toth barely got a chance to get through his early game jitters. And then there was a goal in behind him on really a poor decision on his part to come out.
Now Duran, number 7, lays it across to Fernando Clavillo, number 21. Up the wing left side, they find Chico Moreira. Now Claudio De Oliveira back to Moreira. Moreira with good speed. Ball headed away by Jimmy Banks. Byrne heads it back in, finds Preki, one-on-one. Preki, where's number 11? Now Rundstedt slides in to knock the ball away. And here comes the U.S. national team the other way with Eric Eichmann leading the way. Eichmann feeds for Brian Bliss. Bliss did not play in game 1 of this Budweiser Challenge Cup. Loses his footing. Here's Clavillo just clearing it.
The United States trying to employ a tactic where they do switch the point of attack. We saw just a moment ago as Eichmann struck the ball all the way across field to try and off-balance that MSL Select defense.
Preki with the left foot and skies it over the U.S. national team goal. More action coming up from the St. Louis Soccer Park. It's the USA 1, the MSL nothing.
Nothing beats the USA. Nothing beats what we've got here. Nothing beats clean, crisp, cold. Nothing beats the king of beer. Yeah, nothing. Nothing beats the blood, yeah, nothing. Nothing beats the blood, yeah, nothing. Nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the Bud.
Fernando Clavillo, number 21, whistled for a foul. They restart. Eric Winalda. Winalda working on Daryl Duran, number 7 in the penalty area. Nice defensive play by Duran. And Duran, a guy who you'll see him offensively, you'll see him in the midfield, you'll see him in the back. He's a guy that can play almost anywhere on the field.
There's some real rivalries out there in this particular game. We had a nice one-on-one matchup there between Winalda and Duran. And Duran is a player that played for some of the youth teams of the U.S. team. Just had a couple chances to try and move up with the full national team, and many people say that he could play with this team. He's certainly talented enough, but he's already been in the indoor league now for several years as a veteran now there, and hasn't had a chance to play outdoor. We've got Preki on the ISO camera, and you have to realize how important it is in a soccer game, especially an outdoor soccer game, what a player does when he doesn't have the ball, how he is able to create space for himself, how he's able to interject himself into the midfield play. And Preki, you'll see him tend to float wide to the wider parts of the field where there is more space, where he can then generate more attacks and have a chance to use that quickness and speed and his ability to cut the ball and take players on.
Mike Sweeney taken down, number 8. Taken down just outside the penalty area. Free kick to Chico Borja and the MSL Select team. Borja, a guy who was a bit perturbed at not being selected by Coach Bob Gansler to go to Italy.
Borja had played as recently as 1 year ago for the U.S. team when they had an exhibition match against a Soviet team, Dnepr, in Philadelphia. And he has scored 2 goals in full international play for the U.S. national team. A player with a lot of flair, and he felt that he had the type of tools that could really add something to the U.S. team, especially in the absence of Hugo Perez. But Gansler opted not to go with Borja, perhaps because he didn't feel he was fit enough from having played so much indoor to play outdoor soccer.
Borja will play it. It deflects out of the penalty area, controlled by number 10, Kim Rundfed. Rundfed was perturbed at not playing in Game 1 before his hometown fans in Kansas City, and was more than a little upset at head coach Ron Newman.
And fitness is one of the big differences between the indoor game and the outdoor game. In an outdoor game, obviously, you have to run for 45 minutes at a time in order to finish the match. And indoor, you more or less are playing a 90-second to a 2-minute shift, and you're changing on the fly more like NHL-style ice hockey. And there is an adjustment for players in their training.
Chico Borja tries to set up Mike Sweeney. Nice defensive play there by Marcelo Balboa to knock that ball across the end line.
Eric, watch the short one here. Stay right here for the short one.
Got some of the difference between the fields of an indoor and an outdoor. You see, outdoor soccer can be as much as 130 yards long. This one's 120. Indoor soccer only 200 feet, which is roughly 70 yards or so.
Enough.
You could fit a bunch of indoor soccer facilities, 200 by 85, on this big St. Louis Soccer Park field. Ball knocked in. Here's Claudio De Oliveira, number 32. He's shot blocked. MSL Select team hangs on. Borja, very creative. Gives to Claudio De Oliveira, number 32.
2 times in a row there, Peter Vermees, who's a forward for the U.S. team, making defensive plays. We see Preki now just tracking back to get back into the thick of things in the midfield where he can start to do his thing. He's the engine of this team in terms of generating attacks.
They look for Eric Winalda. Winalda sizing up Daryl Duran. Duran in the dark uniform. Winalda in the white uniform. Crosses it far side looking for Brian Bliss. Play broken up beautifully by Mike Sweeney. Sweeney, great 2-way player for the MSL Select team.
Determined tackler.
Ball crossed in front for Meese, taken down. No foul called. And again, it's Fernando Clavijo.
Clavijo getting back as best he could. Vermees appeared to have broken all the way through, and there was a little contact made. He may have over-dramatized it. There's Preki working again, this time from the left side. So he'll vary his approach in trying to find that gap or that space that he can utilize. U.S. team having some chances here. They're up 1-0, and they continue to look for that quick ball over the top of the backs. This time they found Peter Vermees. He's all the way through. Slight little contact perhaps from Clavijo. Vermees trying to make it look worse than maybe it was, looking for that penalty kick call. No call was made. We have another angle on it, and to me it's almost a complete dive. He saw the shadow of Fernando Clavijo and saw that maybe he wasn't going to have a clear chance on goal. He'd try and draw a penalty kick.
MSL Select team with possession. Sweeney with a bad ball taken down by the U.S. national team. But Sweeney gets it right back. Leads to David Byrne. Byrne has a chance. Tries to find Borja, and Borja ridden off the ball by Desmond Armstrong, and a foul against Chico Borja.
Number 2, Desmond Armstrong, recovering extremely well and reading that play so well. He knew where that ball was going to be laid back into the path of his opponent, and he was there to squelch that attack.
Vermees leaves for Brian Bliss. Bliss with indoor experience. Ball chested down now by Daryl Duran, number 7. The U.S. national team, I think, today doing a much better job in Game 2 of this Budweiser Challenge Cup of penetrating the defensive half of the field against the MSL Select team.
Well, it helps to be up by a goal early, because then your opponent has to push a few more players forward, leaving you then opportunities to go on counterattacks. And that has helped the U.S. team because they got that early goal.
We are at the Budweiser St. Louis Soccer Park, St. Louis, Missouri, for the Budweiser Challenge Cup. The MSL Select team trailing the U.S. national team with a hair under 25 minutes remaining in the first half. Official time kept on the clock. Here's Borja taken down in the area, and let's see what we have. We will have a penalty kick. Chico Borja taken down from behind in the penalty area.
Borja shows us a little bit of his deception and quick turning speed as he comes across the top of the box there. The ball will get played through to him nicely by Sweeney. He's through. He's behind Bliss. Bliss can't catch him. Bliss pulls on his shirt, pulls him down, in fact, and it will be a penalty kick for the MSL Select, an opportunity to tie this game up.
Preki against Mark Dodd, and the save by Dodd. Oh, big save for the U.S. national team. Preki, the veteran of Red Star in Yugoslavia, denied by Mark Dodd, the 3-year starter from Duke University.
Dodd read it all the way. He's got those goalkeeping instincts for penalty kicks, and he got down and smothered it well. Preki probably doesn't hit it as hard as he would have liked. We'll have another look at it. There's Dodd on the line. He stretches out forward, gets his left hand out there and down low quickly enough to stop the shot by Preki. Preki tried to place it, perhaps didn't put enough power on it.
Brian Bliss couldn't hold the pass. It's cleared out to Preki, and boy, in the open spaces, Preki is dangerous. Here's Borja, number 6, playing it back to Kim Ronfed.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how missing that penalty kick affects Preki's performance. A player can go way down and really be discouraged, or a player could try and make up for it and really start to turn it up.
Ronfed with the header. Desmond Armstrong heads it across the line, and a corner kick coming up to the MSL Select team.
A short corner shaping up, it looks like, for the MSL Select as Borja came over to help Preki, but then the U.S. team came in with 2 defenders, so we'll most likely see a serve by Preki.
Preki down low along the line, rejected. How difficult is it in 1 week of practice to install your corner kicks and your restarts?
That actually may be one of the easier things to do, especially with experienced players who have been playing indoor a lot lately but grew up playing the outdoor game.
Again, Preki. It's deflected away, but right to Chico Borja. And Borja, though, loses it along the line, and a throw-in coming up to the U.S. national team. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the United States Soccer Federation and Soccer USA partners, and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission and/or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the United States Soccer Federation is prohibited. 1-0. The U.S. national team leading on the goal by Peter Vermees. 22:31 left in the first half unofficially. Official time kept down on the field. But the MSL Select team in the dark uniforms attacking.
There's the man that missed the penalty kick in the small box on your screen. Looks a little discouraged right now. And you're talking about it, whether a week-long series of practices can really prepare, let's say, an indoor player, if you want to call a player who's been playing predominantly indoor for a few years, whether he can adjust to the outdoor game. The penalty kick situation's a little different. This is grass as opposed to AstroTurf. The ball slows up on AstroTurf. That may have been a factor in that missed penalty.
Vermees, offside. Unofficially, I've got that as 3 offside in the first half against the U.S. national team. They were whistled down for 9 offside in the first game of this Budweiser Challenge Cup.
I think a bigger question for these indoor players in terms of adjusting, whether 1 week was a long enough time period, is whether you're really ready to play 2 games in less than 48 hours, 2 outdoor games over this size of a field. It takes its toll. Preki not showing a lot of energy except when he has the ball.
Is it easier to move indoor to outdoor or outdoor to indoor? Here's a long feed looking for Claudio De Oliveira. Brian Bliss there for the U.S. national team. But De Oliveira of the St. Louis Storm gets it right back. He loses to Eichmann. And it's played back into Mark Dodd. And Dodd kicks back to midfield. Kim Rundved, Danish-born defender, leading all-time defender in scoring in the Major Soccer League. Desmond Armstrong breaks that play up. And here comes the U.S. national team. And the pass too far for Desmond Armstrong.
Armstrong could be a real threat down this left side. He would have liked a little better ball there from Eric Winalda as the United States were breaking forward very hopefully.
Now David Byrne, his father, a great English soccer player, and David Byrne following in his footsteps. Both are nicknamed Budgie. Ball played back into goalkeeper Mark Dodd. Again, under 20 minutes left in the first half unofficially.
Paul Crumpy doing some nice work there in the corner. He's the right back for the U.S. team today. We've not seen a lot of bone-crunching tackles out there, maybe just once as Rundved came through on Murray. There's not any real animosity here between the players, but there are certainly players in the indoor league who felt, as the United States was preparing for Italy, that they were being shortchanged, that maybe there would be a better representative group of players to go play for the United States. So this is their chance to prove it against the U.S. team. You see Eric Eichmann, who's one of the important players for the U.S. now in the midfield. He's the counterpart, if you will, to Preki for the MSL Select team. Eichmann has a little bit different style. Preki will go more one-on-one type and take on players. Eichmann, more of a playmaker. He'll feed players and then support.
Ted Eck, the pass behind Chico Borja, but nice play by Borja to keep the ball alive. Chico Borja. His pass intercepted, and here comes Vermees the other way. Peter Vermees, the U.S. national team looking for Bruce Murray, couldn't find him. And right there, Fernando Clavillo.
Well, we see that the MSL Select team continues to play very flat across their backfield. They are in an even line and parallel to the halfway line, and that is to hopefully catch some offsides, some front runners running too soon, but it also leaves them vulnerable. And so far, on 2 occasions, it's really only the quickness of Clavillo in reading it and in his speed of recovery that has saved them from the United States breaking through that offside trap.
Back it comes to Zoltan Toth. Toth, he has been a winner at every level of soccer. He's got a bunch of rings from the MSL, both with the New York Arrows and San Diego Sockers. Just signed a contract with the St. Louis Storm of the Major Soccer League.
The other part of the MSL Select strategy in playing flat across the back is that they would rather catch the U.S. attackers offside than have to chase them if we're talking about fitness over a large field for a full 90 minutes.
Morera looking for the long lead pass, but right there, Mark Dodd, and he skies it towards the sideline. And there again, on artificial turf, that ball most probably is somewhere up in the seats on about 2 hops.
Yeah, the grass surface and the fact that there's no crown on this field, not like on many AstroTurf fields, holds the ball in play more. Allows you really more tactical options because of that. You can run players from further back in your team because the ball will wait for them if you play it out into space.
Ball will be played in to the right of Mark Dodd. On the throw-in, MSL Select team looks to the penalty area again for Ted Eck, and it's finally cleared by Paul Crumpy.
The United States team without 2 of their taller defenders because they are playing in Europe. John Doyle playing in the Swedish First Division, and Steve Trishu, who's from the St. Louis area here, playing for a Czechoslovakian team. In fact, Trishu was the first United States player ever to play in the European Cup competition for his club team from Prague. And those twin tall towers of defense, the United States do not have them available today, so Ted Eck is even more of a threat because of his strength and his height.
Bruce Murray taken down by Claudio De Oliveira. The foul actually was Murray who pushed off, so the foul against the U.S. national team. Coming down to 16 minutes left in the first half, 1-0. The U.S. national team leading the MSL Select team. It was selected, the MSL Select team, by all 8 coaches in the league. Here's a shot wide by Chico Morera. Boy, Morera not only is he a tough physical player, but with very good offensive skills.
The MSL Select team is lucky in today's lineup to have 2 defenders who are playing wide and coming out that can come forward so well. You mentioned the prolific scoring of Ronfed from his defensive position in the indoor league. He has a strong right foot. Morera also goes forward so well and can take his shots from outside, as we saw there.
Morera, not only a great indoor player, but played 30 international matches for Uruguay. Now Daryl Duran plays it back to Zoltan Toth. Those 2 will be teammates with the St. Louis Storm, along with Fernando Clavillo.
Well, there certainly is an international flavor to this game. Of course, this is the United States team, but on the MSL Select team, you mentioned Morera from Uruguay, Clavillo also from Uruguay, Zoltan Toth, the goalkeeper, originally from Hungary, David Byrne originally from England, Preki, a Yugoslav, so there's some real spice out there.
Kim Runfed, good ball from David Byrne, drops it back to Claudio De Oliveira, number 32. He plays it towards the area over the head of Ted Eck and knocked back into Mark Dodd, who takes a bump.
Sweeney might have got the worst of it, though, Sweeney.
Now Vermees brings it forward for the national team. Here's Durant battling with Peter Vermees. Now Eric Eichmann stepping in. And we've got the foul against the U.S. national team.
Durant showing his fierceness and ruggedness there at midfield, tackling the ball away from the U.S. team. Durant has a sweeper. He's the leader of the defense, and he's leading by example there as he's muscles and then is muscled by Eichmann, but Eichmann was called for a foul.
Ted Eck has it knocked away from behind by Robin Frazier. Now Rutfed's ball is stolen. Here's Bruce Murray. Murray scored in game 1 of this series. He gives to Peter Vermees, number 10, on the wing. Here's Crumpy. Crosses in front. Toad can't get it. It comes down to Vermees. Here's Vermees the shot. He's stuffed by Sweeney.
Well, that's the second time we've seen Toth come out and come up with nothing. Murray's down on that play. He got piled into. It looks like he'll be okay, but the ball dropping down to the feet of Vermees, who scored the first goal in a similar situation where Toth came out and was not able to get to the ball, and he's out of position at that point.
Now Sweeney spins away, taken down at the midfield line. And the foul against the U.S. national team. Just over 13 minutes left in the first half. The U.S. national team 1, the MSL Select team nothing. Here's Sweeney feeding Ted Eck. Backs it off now, Claudio De Oliveira to David Byrne. Byrne, long lead pass, looking for Morera. Finds him, crosses. Ball deflected away by Marcelo Balboa. Byrne comes up with it outside the area. Chico Borja pushes it ahead to Preki. Preki with that left foot, a bouncing shot handled easily on both knees by Mark Dodd.
He didn't really get a hold of it like he would have liked to. It's a chance anytime it's on his left foot. He hits that swerving ball that can fool goalkeepers, as we saw earlier. And this time he got the top half of the ball a little too much, causing it to come down into the grass, which slowed it up.
We touched on it earlier. Is it easier going indoor to outdoor or outdoor to indoor? You've had to make the adjustment before.
I would say it's easier to go from outdoor to indoor. The main difference being that you have to get used to the boards, the angles, and being able to, the ball being constantly in action. Because the tougher adjustment is really to run for 90 minutes and have that kind of fitness. It's a different kind of fitness when you can sit down every couple minutes.
So the conditioning really the major factor, not the boards. U.S. national team attacking Eric Eichmann. He works on Mike Sweeney. Sweeney hanging right with him. Ahead to Winalda. He one-times it towards the corner, and out of bounds it goes. A throw-in to the MSL Select team.
You're going to have another look at the goal. They put the U.S. team up by one very early. Balboa with the long throw. It's high into the box. Toth comes out. He doesn't get to it. Look at Vermees. He's like a vulture. On the spin, he immediately puts it into the unattended goal, and that's what it takes. As a forward, you have to realize when it's most opportune to take that shot, and he wasn't wasting any time there.
The throw-in, a looping throw-in, finally headed down by David Byrne. Out to Oliveira.
Good fair charge. Shoulder to shoulder with the ball's in playing distance of both players.
A lot of fans will say, hey, why wasn't that a foul? But they say, play on. David Byrne. Working with Morera, who's running wide. Plays it, though, towards the penalty area. Headed down. Finally cleared out of there. Now Eric Winalda the other way. Crosses it to Vermees. Vermees holds up. Now attacks. Feeds towards the area. Gets a return pass. Vermees, though, clears it out of bounds.
Vermees showing us some of his abilities and skills, and he's been honing them over in Europe. The first United States player ever to crack a starting lineup in the Dutch First Division, which is one of the top leagues in all of Europe.
Well, we've talked about 6 players from the U.S. national team over in Europe right now playing either first or second division soccer. What's it going to mean to this program?
Oh, Gansler is constantly trying to adjust his team to get them used to the new faces. Toth, again, not very convincing when he comes outside of his goal.
Well, obviously a lot of differences between the indoor and outdoor game, according to Desmond Armstrong.
Between the two for you?
I think playing indoor, you have limited vision because it's a smaller field and fewer players. And I think that the outdoor game creates more opportunity to be innovative. You have so much more space, so much more time, and time to think about what you want to do. It's a great game to play outdoor, and I really enjoy playing for the national team, and I'm looking forward to the next World Cup.
The U.S. national team leading in this Budweiser Challenge Cup 1-0. And we get a shoulder charge there, but they say play on, and here comes David Byrne.
The United States team being given quite a lot of space to play in and time to really assess their options at midfield, and they're using this space quite well. These dimensions is 120 yards by 75 yards wide, a good flat, good surface, and the defense by the MSL Select is a little bit lax, but the United States team has not been able to translate that really into shots on goal. They've nearly broken through. They've been offsides a few times. They've had some good runs, but we've not really seen that many shots on Zoltan Toth because we've not seen him have to stop a shot. He's been scored on, but he didn't have to. He was already out of the goal when that shot was taken. He's been out for a couple high balls, but I'd like to see him tested in terms of shooting.
Brian Bliss, left side, moving with Vermees. Feed to Vermees, but an offside again. against the U.S. national team, and that's number 4 against the U.S. national team. The skills that it takes to play the indoor game versus the outdoor game, working in short spaces versus the broad expanse of outdoor soccer.
They're almost entirely the same skills. The main difference, and Desmond Armstrong made light of it, is the fact that you have to open up your vision a bit more when you play outdoor soccer, because your passes are more likely to be 30, 40, 50-yard passes as opposed to maybe just a 15 or a 20-yard pass.
Chico Borja taken down, and hold up. Now we have some pushing. Brian Bliss and Chico Borja, but Raul Dominguez between the two immediately.
These are two guys that have played together before for this U.S. team, but today you wouldn't know it. There's Borja, always very fiery. He gets bumped first by Armstrong, then by Bliss, and when he came up, he was taking numbers.
Well, Chico Borja, not one you want to mess with, because Borja has a fiery temper. He has received his share of red cards, both indoor and outdoor.
Latin blood. What an exciting player, though, because he is so explosive.
Bliss, by the way, has been issued a caution. A header wide of goal, and a goal kick coming up to the U.S. national team and Mark Dodd.
A set piece for the MSL Select. An in-swinger sent into the box. The ball not quite reaching its intended target, and was just able to be flicked on instead of being knocked on goal.
6:20 and counting unofficially in the first half remaining. 1-0, the U.S. national team on top on the goal by Peter Vermees. Here's a real battle. Bliss against Clavijo of the MSL Select team, and Bliss whistled down for the foul.
Clavijo with a neck tackle in retaliation, though. Bliss may have caused the initial foul, but he's getting a little heated up here. Brian Bliss out of Southern Connecticut. You see Clavijo, Bliss slipping, and actually Clavijo took a little swipe at Bliss. Bliss now holding him, and now Clavijo going with the neck dump as the World Wrestling Federation style. But as we mentioned, these are players that they have a little bit of something to prove today, and they're showing some of that. And I think it's getting a little hotter out there in terms of the temperature with this strong sun.
Obviously, both these teams very talented, but the challenge made by Ron Newman for the MSL Select team. They already have a tie in the bag. What do they have to prove today?
Well, I think they'd like to take the whole thing in terms of the total results of the two-game series.
Here's Winalda breaking free, but right there, Zoltan Toth. Winalda thought he had been fouled in the penalty area by Kim Rundfed.
Well, he's about to get cautioned, too, by Raul Dominguez for protesting the want of a call there. But you can't hardly argue with Dominguez when he was as close to the play as he was. He said it was Winalda right back there trying to break through, but Dominguez was right on the spot. And when the official's that close, you have a little bit more of a problem questioning his call. And then Winalda, with his dissent, his verbal dissent, earns himself a yellow card. Winalda had a little bit of trouble with that in Italy, too, being ejected from a game.
Claudio De Oliveira working defensively against Eric Winalda. Winalda, just 20 years old and supremely skilled. Boy, you imagine this kid in about 5-6 years, or maybe by about 1994.
He could be in his prime at that time. It would be great to see have someone who's already made his way onto this stage at such a young age and can really create goal-scoring chances and finish them off. His temper, he's going to have to mature a little bit perhaps. But we're watching here is the MSL team, which is really on paper more experienced. They've been professionals for longer periods of years than the U.S. team, and they know how to take the right foul and how to use their bodies and maybe get away with a little bit more than the U.S. team. And it's something that the U.S. team perhaps could learn a little bit about, and that's part of this series.
Borja crosses looking for Eck. The play broken up in front. Here's Preki driving it into the penalty area, but cleared away beautifully by Paul Crumpy.
A fantastic cross from Borja to find Eck, and that's the main target, again, because of his height and his heading ability. A few more plays like that where the MSL can continue to threaten, and Eck will connect on one of those.
Here's Winalda just across the midfield line. Barrera misses on the tackle attempt. Winalda one-on-one against Clavijo, but again the veteran Clavijo together with Claudio De Oliveira doing a good job defensively.
And again, Winalda ends up on the turf. And that's part of the point I was just making. These are experienced players he's up against. They know just how to get away with that near foul, enough to slow up an attacker of great talents like an Eric Wijnaldum. And it's frustration, really frustration showing on Wijnaldum's face, but he's going to need to learn to deal with that as he gets into the higher levels of international soccer. That's what it's about. Clavijo showing us so well how to defend against some first-class moves by Wijnaldum.
Now Bruce Murray. He scored on Friday night in Game 1 of this Challenge Cup Series, the Budweiser Challenge Cup, at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Now Chico Moreira for the MSL Select team. Plays it ahead, Chico Borja. Borja, he gets ahead of steam. He's got good speed. He has had some ankle problems in past years. Now Murray goes down, and what do we have? Foul against Chico Borja.
It's either that or a goal kick, which is essentially the same result because the ball will be placed in the same vicinity.
They will rule a goal kick, and Mark Dodd will put the ball back into play. Coming down to unofficially 2 minutes left in the first half. Don't forget at halftime, we'll be joined by Robert Herman. Of course, you've heard for the last 23 years about the Hermann Trophy. Well, the trophy is named after Robert Herman, lives here in St. Louis. We'll get a chance to visit with him about the trophy, about the start of professional outdoor soccer in America.
An interesting fact, in the backfield for the MSL Select team, Clavijo was doing such a fine job in his ability in the one-on-one situations and in his quickness of reading the game and his recovery runs. He's playing next to Daryl Duran. They're on the same line in the backfield for the St. Louis Storm of the MSL. So they certainly understand each other, which is important.
Eric Eichmann. Eichmann had a great game against Trinidad Tobago. Through the praise of head coach Bob Gansler. There's an offside. And that, I believe, the first against the MSL Select team today. And the first of this Budweiser Challenge Cup Series. They were 0-9.
Well, part of that is that the United States team plays a different style of defense. That Marcelo Balboa, who's on the ball there, number 17, he's their sweeper, and he plays in a more deep-lying role. We're seeing where Duran and Clavijo are playing even with each other, and it's a different defensive setup.
U.S. national team attacking. They play it out front. Murray's open. His shot up over the crossbar, but we get a whistle and an offside call.
That's a close one, and the offside rule has changed since the World Cup. Just this July, we've come to a new ruling where if you're even with the last defender when the ball is played to you, you are not considered offsides. This ball played through very nicely. From this angle, there's no way of telling whether Murray was really offside or not.
Well, there you have it, the end of the first half, an exciting first half of action as these two teams try and decide the Budweiser Challenge Cup. The cup down at the middle. Score, the U.S. national team 1, the MSL Select team 0.
Like to draw or paint or maybe just sketch or doodle? Well, if you do, chances are you have the interest needed to become a serious art student. And here's how you can find out. By simply calling toll-free, Art Instruction Schools will send you without cost or obligation this enjoyable art test. You take it at home in your spare time, and when you've finished, you simply mail it in. Your test is then reviewed and graded by experts. So call toll-free today for your art test. And don't let the wonderful world of art pass you by. To get your free art test, call this toll-free number now. Don't delay. Call this number now. Call 1-800-238-3100. That's 1-800-238-3100.
We're here at an athletic shoe store to see people's reactions to this sneaker phone from Sports Illustrated. Now, the only thing is, we're not going to show it to them. We're going to let them discover it for themselves. Come on.
The sneaker's ringing. The phone. Can't believe it.
You like that?
Yeah.
A sneaker phone, that's great.
Presenting the sneaker phone, only from Sports Illustrated. And it's yours free with your paid subscription to SI. It has push-button dialing, mute button, automatic redial, an on-off switch, and of course it plugs into a standard jack.
How much? It's free. Free?
The SI sneaker phone is yours free when you subscribe to 30 issues of Sports Illustrated for 3 low monthly installments of $14.97. That's over 45% off the cover price. So call now. The subscription includes the NFL and NBA previews, the year-end double issue, and the revealing 1991 swimsuit issue. So call now to subscribe to Sports Illustrated and get the sneaker phone free.
Hello?
We are at halftime with the Budweiser Challenge Cup from the St. Louis Soccer Park just outside of St. Louis, the MSL Select team and the U.S. National Soccer team. You know, for the last 23 years, the top collegiate soccer player has been named the Hermann Trophy Award winner. The man after which the trophy is named is with me now, Robert Hermann. And Robert, 23 years ago, you began all of this. How did it start?
Oh, a couple of us were sitting around a table up in New York thinking we ought to bring the world's biggest sport to the United States in the professional league, and we started a league. And we decided we had to get about 12 teams together to play that, to be a league. So we ended up with New York, California, Seattle, Miami, Chicago, St. Louis, and all points in between. Had 12 teams.
And, of course, the Hermann Trophy, named after you. How did that begin as well?
Well, I was elected chairman of the league, and so the league bestowed that honor upon me and named the trophy after me.
Let's talk a little bit about women. And in the last 3 years, a women's Hermann Trophy winner has been named. That has to, I guess, signify the leaps and bounds in which soccer is held in this country.
You know, soccer is the biggest sport in the United States. There are only over 15 million people taking part in this game. And it's the only sport in the United States that has both a male and a female winner of the trophy. We're very proud of that. And if you take another number, 40 million people are involved in soccer. That's mothers and fathers of children and everybody else, so the whole family's around. So there are 40 million people. That's one out of, what would that be? 1 out of 6 people in the United States is somehow involved in soccer.
It's been an exciting first half. This has to be a major step for soccer, the joining of the outdoor and the indoor.
That's very true. We played, actually, we played indoor. The outdoor league played indoor 23 years ago. But we did it on a very sparse budget and just barely got it started. But it is an exciting game, the indoor sport.
When you began it 23 years ago, did you have any idea soccer would be where it is today?
I didn't even know we'd have a league, much less a commissioner, but we've come a long, long way, of course.
Bob, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Robert Hermann, the Hermann Trophy named after him and one of the co-founders of the North American Soccer League. More action coming up in the second half from the St. Louis Soccer Park, the Budweiser Challenge Cup.
Nothing beats #1. Nothing beats the king of beers. Nothing beats clean, crisp, and cold. This is the best, and we got it right here. Yeah. Nothing beats the Bud, yeah, nothing beats the Bud, yeah, nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the Bud.
The last time you got your film developed, how many saw this seal on their photo envelopes? Okay, all the eye did was pay attention. This is the Kodak Color Watch seal. It means a Kodak system checks the developing for great color. Color Watch seal, great color. No seal, who knows? So look for the seal, ask for the Kodak Color Watch system, and then, ha-ha, you're gonna thank me for it. Yes, indeed. Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
The U.S. national team leads it 1-0 at halftime. Same two teams met 2 days ago at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Kevin Keatsman was there.
At a news conference Thursday in Kansas City, the pre-series hype centered on just which players are better, the national team or the MSL All-Stars. Nobody was willing to stick out their neck, but each group was brimming with confidence.
I guess there's some bragging rights in this. But I don't think 2 games will determine who has the better players in the country. You know, like I said before, there's a lot of good players on each side.
And I think it'll be an exciting thing to watch and see just what happens, because nobody can really be sure.
The matchup at Arrowhead Stadium seemed a tough one to get a reading on. The MSL All-Stars are accustomed to playing on artificial turf, but the Nationals are better prepared for the larger field.
I think there's talented players on both sides, and they're keen to give a good account of themselves. And consequently, we're going to have a good game for the people that really matter. And that's the fans of Kansas City first, and in the second match in St. Louis.
Who's got the advantage? The guys that are used to playing on a bigger field, or the guys that are used to playing on that artificial turf?
Well, we're trying to work out a point spread there to see where we could put the money, but, you know, you've got that imponderable for, there's no question the tattoos of the world, etc., have great ability. But can they adjust back to the long runs and the longer passes of outdoor soccer? The national team guys, they normally play on grass, now they're playing on AstroTurf. There's a lot of questions to be thrown out of there, but bragging rights are at stake, and anytime there's bragging rights at stake, whether it's a little five-a-side pickup game with these guys or whether it's a fully fledged international, they'll be going at it, you know, tooth and nail.
One thing everyone did agree on, this series is unifying soccer in America. The hope is someday the United States will have one major soccer league that features the nation's best players.
It's a good time for soccer in America right now because of that fusion that's building and the cooperation that's happening between the leagues. So for those reasons, I think this game is going to be very exciting for all of us.
As far as the first match is concerned, neither team proved superior. It ended in a 1-1 tie. But the fans in Kansas City got quite a treat when the MSL's only goal was scored by hometown player Ted Eck. In Kansas City, I'm Kevin Keatsman.
Here in Game 2 of the Budweiser Challenge Cup Series, it's a U.S. national team 1, the MSL Select team nothing at halftime. And joining me now, the commissioner of the Major Soccer League, Earl Foreman, also the president of the United States Soccer Federation, Alan Rothenberg. And Earl Foreman, this has to be a great day for you, really an historic day for soccer in America.
Yes, it is. We're so proud to be here, and this is a wonderful challenge series. That's something we've dreamed about in MISL for many, many years. And with the advent of this era of good feeling that's been brought about recently between the Federation and MISL, we're delighted to be here with this showcase event.
One of the developments in soccer in the United States is the cooperation between the MSL and the United States Soccer Federation. And the new president of the United States Soccer Federation, Alan Rothenberg, you've just started a new committee about outdoor soccer in this country, and you've named Earl Foreman as the chairman of that committee.
Yes, and I'm really pleased about that. There were a number of priority items I had in mind when I got elected. One, of course, was to develop outdoor professional soccer in this country. The other is to bring everybody that's involved with soccer under one roof in a real spirit of cooperation. And I think that Earl being chair of that committee, Earl and I here today, me watching both of my teams, the MISL All-Star team and the U.S. national team playing, I think epitomizes that spirit. So it's a great day for soccer in this country.
Thank you, President Rothenberg of the United States Soccer Federation.
Indeed, history being made here at the soccer park in St. Louis. With the score 1-0, the U.S. national team leading. We pause now for a regional break. You're watching Sports Channel America.
These gentlemen are here.
Squeak and streak, streak and squeak, while you play hide and seek. But now there's Triple Edge, the world's first high-tech windshield wiper. It clears, it cleans, it wipes dry, all in a single pass. But that's not all. Triple Edge wipers won't tear, dry rot, or freeze to your windshield. They're made from DuPont Nordell, used in 50,000-mile radial tires. So strong, they're guaranteed for as long as you own your car. If they ever fail, we'll replace them free. Triple Edge gives you visibility through the heaviest downpour. It whisks away snow and ice. Even mud is no match for Triple Edge. They're only $19.95 a pair. Custom fit to install in seconds on any car, van, or truck. Triple Edge is not sold in stores, so order now.
Call toll-free 1-800-238-3100. That's 1-800-238-3100. Or send $19.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling to Triple Edge Wipers, P.O. Box 4670, Omaha, Nebraska.
NBC's Greatest Fights Ever can now be yours on home video cassette. Clay Liston, the improbable upset. Ali Foreman, the rumble in the jungle. Ali Frazier, the thriller in Manila. And NBC's compelling Greatest Rounds Ever. To order, call 1-800-238-3100. $24.95 each. Or all four for just $79.95. Call now, operators are standing by. There's only one place where you can see wall-to-wall coverage of the most celebrated team in the history of college football as they take aim on a national title, Notre Dame football. Notre Dame battles Miami. See it on Sports Channel America tonight and tomorrow. Experience the great tradition and unparalleled excitement of high school sports. Age-old rivalries come alive as we travel across America for the National Federation High School Game of the Week. See it October 26th, only on the Sports Channel America Network.
The U.S. national team leading as we get set for second half action. 1-0 our score, and Peter Vermees getting the U.S. national team out on top early. We are underway, and the MSL Select team in the dark uniforms, the dark blue, almost black uniforms. Here's Mike Sweeney looking ahead, trying to find Byrne. Play broken up by Brian Bliss, but Ted Eck comes back. Paul Wright.
That's right, number 19, Paul Wright, with that red wrap on his right thigh. He's had a little bit of a thigh problem, but he's making his first appearance in this Challenge Cup Series.
Wright, a great offensive player with blinding speed, maybe the fastest player on the field this afternoon. Eck goes up for a header, can't connect. Robin Frazier drags it out of the penalty area. Starts it ahead, Eric Winalda. And a throw-in coming up to the U.S. national team.
So the MSL Select looking maybe for a little change in tactics and getting the type of speed that Paul Wright possesses, getting him to play up top. We have another look at him, number 19. He's originally from the San Diego area. He played in Cleveland some and then came back to San Diego in the MSL, but he is ablaze.
Now Jimmy Banks goes down momentarily. Eck taken down by Jimmy Banks. And the free kick to the MSL Select team. Chico Borja now gives way. Well, gets it in on the restart. Borja, very creative at this point of the field. Those little short flick passes. He has great vision and can find the open man. Here's Preki going wide. Preki working on Crumpy. Moves past Crumpy. Taken out of the play by Paul Crumpy. And the foul against the former Chicago Sting star.
Preki, a one-on-one ball artist, using some fakes and some change of pace here as he cuts the ball, tries to split two defenders. You see that Crumpy holds him because there's no other way he was going to catch him as Preki had really split the two defenders.
See if they look for Ted Eck. Eck is right down in. Crossed out in front, headed out of there beautifully, and finally it's Chico Morera who controls for the MSL Select team. Now Bliss with the header. Morera feeds left side for Preki. Now here's Borja. Trying to go wide on Eichmann. Nice sliding tackle there by Marcelo Balboa. And the U.S. national team will try and get it out of the danger zone.
Balboa playing very solidly at the back. Good head clearance initially and a nice tackle coming over to the side there. Here's a collision or a mix-up between Byrne and Peter Vermees. Vermees is down. We have the stats from the first half, and it shows that the MSL Select team outshot the U.S. team by a huge proportion in terms of those statistics. And it was really them trying to fight back after giving up that early goal. The saves almost even. The corner kicks, again, one-sided for the MSL Select team. The fouls, the national team way ahead on that one, as well as in offsides.
We are some 4 years away from the World Cup in the United States in 1994. Do you think it's tougher for Bob Gansler to motivate his troops at this point? Now, obviously, a year or so ago, everybody was pointing to Italy, but we don't have that right now.
Well, it's certainly different than it was last spring when everything was keyed towards the United States performance in Italy at the World Cup. And now it's a little further away, but it's still such an honor to be a part of this team and be considered in the developmental squad towards 1994. We see actually Joe Macknick, who's the goalkeeping coach for the U.S. team there, walking in his red, white, and blue. He's one of Bob Gansler's assistants. Gansler seated there on the bench, taking a little more casual approach to the game today.
Long lead looking for Brian Bliss. Bliss couldn't hold the pass. Gets it back from Sweeney. Now Eck charges into Brian Bliss, and the foul against Ted Eck.
Bliss seems to be always in the middle of the physical play. That time he was on the wrong end of it in terms of taking some of a physical beating.
They look for Peter Vermees, but right there, Kim Ronfed, number 10. He gets it into Zoltan Toth. Now Chico Moreira. Here's Borja. Preki one times looking for Eck. He's ridden off the play beautifully by Robin Frazier. And Frazier, one of those young guys, getting a look-see today.
He's getting a chance. As we mentioned, some of the top U.S. players are now over in Europe, either trying out for teams or have already signed with some European clubs. Frazier, a very smooth defender. He sees the game extremely well, and he's skillful on the ball.
With the MSL Select team down by a goal and in the second half, do you see the strategy changing at all?
Well, other than the change in bringing on Paul Wright, it's really just going to be a matter of emphasis. More players getting forward more quickly into the attack to try and break through.
Kim Ronfed feeds towards the area, headed away by Frazier. Now Eck with it. Ted Eck out of Springfield, Illinois. Played at Western Illinois University. And Paul Wright has the ball deflected away. A corner coming up to the MSL Select team.
Those statistics, I think, were a little misleading. As we mentioned in the first half, the U.S. team had a lot of attacks, but not enough of them really developed into shooting opportunities, so they didn't take their shots.
Here's a shot by Preki, deflected high in the air by Brian Bliss. Dodd tries to clear it and does, and here comes Peter Vermees.
And Bliss may have saved a goal because for Dodd, he's looking into the sun, and he may not have seen that one.
Here's Byrne, the drive, and Byrne loops it over the crossbar.
Here's the danger, and the MSL will take their shots, especially Preki. Number 11 winds up with that left foot. Look at the swerve on that ball. From this angle, it looks like it was probably going to hook wide, but there's no way Bliss can know that. He did the right thing. He got himself in front of it and kept it away from his goal as Dodd tried to react in behind him.
And the last time down the field, it was Sweeney setting up David Byrne. Now here's Bruce Murray looking for Vermees. Moreira back there, number 2. Also Clavillo. They let the ball go out of bounds across the end line. And a goal kick coming up to Zoltan Toth.
We've got another connection here. Playing in the midfield for the MSL Select is Mike Sweeney, and he's been a Canadian national team player. So he's played against some of these U.S. players in full international play where he represents Canada. Ted Eck, who's an American, as you mentioned, from Springfield, Illinois, just a couple hours down the highway from here. He was the leading scorer in the Canadian League last summer.
And the foul whistle down against Fernando Clavillo. You know, we talk a lot about, as you look at Clavillo.
Well, the MSL Select team may be the more adept team in terms of getting the body in there and performing those near fouls where you almost get away with them. You could slow up the attacking player. This time they didn't get away with it as Clavillo was called for it. And Crumpy lines himself up for what will probably be an in-swinging free kick.
Crumpy out in front, headed out of there by Eck. The shot saved by goalkeeper Zoltan Toth.
And I did mean to say outswinging free kick there. Ted Eck has been just a very strong performer, both indoor and outdoors. Good enough outdoors to have gotten a try with this U.S. team a couple times during the spring. We have the isolation camera on him, number 12. Just powerful, tall, rugged, the type of striker that they love in the European leagues. And the rumor is that Glasgow Celtic, one of the great teams of Europe, are interested in him at this point, and it's because of those characteristics. He can get to the ball with his head. He gets up very strong and very hard against even very tough defenders.
And again, we talk about 1994. Ted Eck will be 28. Very much what you'd like to see in the World Cup.
It's about the prime age, particularly for an attacking player. They don't normally hang around quite as long as defenders. Defenders at the World Cup stage many times are 32, 33, even 34 years old. But as far as an attacking player, not too many of them are still at that World Cup level or stage when they hit about 29 or 30.
Here's Murray deflecting the ball out of the field of play across the end line. High score. 36 minutes left in the second half, but officially USA 1, MSL nothing.
Nothing beats the USA. Nothing beats what we've got here. Nothing beats clean, crisp, cold. Nothing beats the king of beer. Yeah, nothing beats the bud, yeah, nothing beats the bud, yeah, nothing beats the Budweiser. Nothing beats the Bud.
The U.S. national team with a corner kick. Out in front, it's Bliss with the header, deflected over the crossbar by Marcelo Balboa. And I tell you, Balboa's been all over the field. Offensively, defensively, he's really gotten the job done as you get a look at Brian Bliss.
Balboa also very strong in the air, coming forward there from his sweeper position, but Bliss taking the brunt of some physical play again. He seems to be a target for this MSL Select team. They just keep hitting on him every chance they get, and he's aggressive, and he's usually in there, but he's really been taking some hits.
Now Bliss on the run, trying to work his way back into the defensive half of the field, and finds Mark Dodd.
And Bliss, number 8 for the U.S. team here today, is one of the players that went to Italy but didn't really see much playing time. And I think right now he's having an opportunity to maybe force himself back in to the first team of the U.S.
Borja gives ahead to David Byrne. Now Preki. Let's see if he'll try to go one-on-one. Cuts it inside. Here's Preki, the shot. Oh, and he just fired it wide. And Dodd got a piece of that one.
Well, it usually is a good guess that Preki will go one-on-one when he gets the chance, and this time he was up against Marcelo Balboa, who's really the last defender for the United States. But Preki's not afraid of that. He's able to change pace and shoot even when he's running at an angle parallel to the goal line. And he whips around with that left foot, but Dodd looked very sharp in steering that one around the post. We have a substitution here at the halfway line. Scott Benedetti, number 9, coming on for Eric Winalda, number 11.
Here's Preki one-timing the ball out of bounds, and a goal kick coming up to the U.S. national team, down to 34-19 left, unofficially second half, and the U.S. national team leading 1-0.
Benedetti, who also played a little bit of indoor soccer up in Tacoma with the Tacoma Stars, where Preki has played for the last couple years. But Benedetti getting one of his first looks, really, with this U.S. team. He'll want to make his mark in terms of being the guy who maybe gets on the end of a ball that ends up in the goal. And the United States team will probably have a few more opportunities here, especially on the counterattack, as the MSL Select team, because they are trailing, are going to push more and more players forward.
Well, the U.S. national team getting set for more international competition. They'll be heading soon to Poland, also playing in Zagreb, Yugoslavia, against the Croatian Select team. And again, an opportunity for young players to show what they can do. It will also give the national team a chance to get some of the players who are now playing in Europe back with the national team.
Well, if you can't bring them back here, go over and visit them. And Kansas would certainly like to keep in touch with players like a John Doyle, like a Tab Ramos, like a Tony Miola, all of whom are now signed with European teams.
Bruce Murray on the restart gets it back to Eric Eichmann. Eichmann retreats, gives back to Desmond Armstrong. Armstrong looks wide, finds Paul Crumpy, but right there is Chico Barrera.
And of course, Paul Caligiuri, whose name became so famous when he scored the important goal for the United States to send them on to Italy to the final 24 of the World Cup. He recently signed for a first division team in East Germany. And what has happened is many of the very elite Eastern European players have gone and signed in Western Europe, depleting some of their teams. Some of the U.S. players now have gone ahead and, including Steve Trishue and Paul Caligiuri, are now playing with Eastern European teams who are now looking for talent, and they've looked to the United States.
A little over 32 minutes left in the second half, and the MSL Select team down by a goal. It's 1-0 on the goal by Peter Vermees in the 3rd minute of the first half. And I guess the question is, what does Ron Newman do at this point? Is there anything he can do tactically to get his team back in the game?
Ron Newman with his counterpart, or actually his assistant in this situation, Don Popovic, who coaches the St. Louis Storm of the MSL. they're going to need to try and isolate some of their better one-on-one players, like a Chico Borja, like a Preki, like a David Byrne, against the U.S. defenders if they hope to break through. The U.S. now playing in a very organized fashion in terms of their defensive play.
Preki gives to Rundfed. Crosses it in front, headed out of the field of play, and we'll get a throw-in to the MSL Select team.
Balboa, again, well positioned there to guard the dangerous area towards the near post of the U.S. team.
Ball will be thrown in. And again, the MSL Select team organizes. On the throw-in, headed high in the air by Eck. Here's Wright with the header. Armstrong with it, tries to clear. It's held in the penalty area. The shot hit the post. That ball hit the right post.
And I believe it was deflected by Dodd. That's a first-class save as he dove to his left. He may have just touched that ball enough for it to then hit the crossbar. We'll look at it again here. It comes from the long throw-in from Borja. It bounces down. There's the shot off the bar. Dodd had sprawled low and flung his hand up to partially deflect it.
Paul Wright taken down, or rather Chico Borja. And just to the side of the penalty area, the MSL Select team will put the ball into play.
And a critical save there by Dodd, though, because there was, for the first time in a long while, any disorganization or lack of cohesion in the U.S. defense as that ball dropped down. Armstrong not quite able to clear. Paul Wright on the spot there, trying to put it past Dodd, but Dodd was up to it.
Preki will put it into play. Finds Rundfed. Rundfed shot deflects. Bicycle kick, and Dodd the save. Ted Eck with a beautiful bicycle kick. That would have been a goal of the year candidate had he got it past Mark Dodd.
Some spectacular acrobatics, but they get the help of the official there as the ball flicked up off of the referee, Raul Dominguez, and then Eck goes airborne with the bicycle kick. He puts it on target, but Dodd saved it very well.
Do you notice a change in the U.S. national team tactics at this point, maybe going more defensively, and is it allowing the MSL Select team to do a few more things?
You can't overdo it if you go and try and protect a lead maybe a little bit too early, because eventually you will give one up. Most coaches or most fans, soccer people in general, would want you to maybe be a little more selective about your attacks, how many players you send forward, but certainly continue to look for another goal so that you don't get into that defensive shell and get stale. And that's what it looks like is happening. As the U.S. has dropped back, the MSL Select has found more ways to crack through.
David Byrne finds Eck. It's headed down, though, in the penalty area, and Brian Bliss just dumps it the length of the field, and back to get it, Chico Moreira.
We're going to take one more look at Ted Eck's bicycle kick. We've got a nice angle here. The ball pops through. He's got his back to the goal. This is his only chance to really get the ball on goal. He goes down, brings his legs up over his head, and forces the save out of Mark Dodd.
Ted Eck will be playing this season with the Kansas City Comets. Hard to believe that in just a couple of weeks, the MSL Select team, they'll be battling against each other. Now Crumpy with it, crosses it in front. The shot by Vermees, and he skies it wide of the goal. And he had Daryl Duran all over him.
Duran closing him well. The MSL is starting their season earlier than ever and will finish up earlier than they have in a long time in order to experiment with a little bit of outdoor soccer once the indoor schedule is completed. So things are moving in that direction because of the World Cup in '94. The United States have been named as the host.
Look at Clavillo move past two national team players. Plays a nice ball to Eck, who's taken down. And what do we have here? A foul against the national team and a caution.
And a yellow card to Robin Fraser, trying his best to stay even with Ted Eck. Ted Eck turning on the Jets as he tried to get around the corner of the U.S. defense. We see it here. He's winning the race. He tries to accelerate around Fraser. Fraser not quite getting to the ball, getting Ted Eck's ankles instead. And because of the deliberateness of the foul and him not playing the ball, rather playing Ted Eck's ankles instead, he received a yellow card caution, which means anything more like that, and he's history. He'll have to leave the game with a red card.
A man who is probably at this moment sitting on the edge of his seat is Kansas City Comets head coach Dave Clements, who is in the crowd this afternoon. That's his player who gets up and apparently okay. Of course, Clements played for the Cosmos, First Division, number of teams in England. Here's a long cross. Knocked out of there by Dodd. Sweeney keeps it alive, but finally Brian Bliss skies it.
Well, now that Dodd is seeing some action, he's distinguishing himself a little bit more than Toth has. Dodd had a fine season this year for Colorado Foxes in the APSL West, so he gained some valuable experience there.
Benedetti feeds in front, sliding out to get it is Zoltan Toth. The outlet, not a good one, and here's Crumpy.
Clavijo leaving his feet for the diving header to keep the ball out of danger. Number 21 has had a very strong performance for the MSL Select, as he did for that same team on Friday night in Kansas City. Gansler pointed out 3 players that really impressed him from the MSL team. One of them was Eck, who we've talked quite a bit about today. The other one, of course, was Preki, who we've seen threaten on a couple of occasions. The other one was Clavijo.
On the throw-in towards the MSL Select team goal, Benedetti upended, and here comes the MSL Select team motoring the other way. Borja, long lead pass. Preki to Eck. He is open, but Frazier breaks the play up, and Dodd covers up.
Eck with his one sock down after getting beat on by Robin Frazier on that yellow card incident, but we saw in the isolation camera how hard he has to work to get into position to win the ball. And a player of his caliber and of his qualities is always tightly marked and watched very closely, so they have to work that much harder to get open.
Morera gives up the ball. Now we get a whistle as Vermees was kicked by Morera.
A few words being exchanged here. I think Vermees is letting him know that any more of that and things might escalate. Things have been a little colorful here today. Yellow cards to 3 players with the U.S. team already. Winaldo, Bliss, and Armstrong. As tempers have flared a little bit, there's been some contact out there, and that's to be expected. These really, except for the guys who are actually foreign citizens, is a chance to be a part of the U.S. team and represent your country.
Eric Eichmann, number 20, getting set to put the ball into play, and he lofts it towards the end line. Toth comes down with it.
Toth showing good form on that one, as that ball had enough hang time really for him to time his jump well and collect it quite efficiently.
Now run fed to Duran. They dump it back looking for Toth, but the ball out of bounds, and a corner coming up.
The U.S. team applying some high pressure there in the MSL Select end of the field there, trying to force something, and I think realizing there may have been some direction coming from the sideline on that, realizing that they didn't want to get into that defensive shell where that eventually that would be broken through. They wanted to start to win the ball more often in the other end of the field, in the MISL Select's defensive end.
Eric Eichmann to the right of Zoltan Toth. On the corner, loops it towards the middle. Murray heads it down, and a foul against Bruce Murray for pushing off.
That's a good matchup there, too, between Eck and Murray in terms of heading ability. They bring a player like Murray all the way back, even though he's one of their front runners, to mark a player like Eck on those set pieces such as corner kicks.
Kevin Wall along with Ty Keogh, the St. Louis Soccer Park. 24 minutes exactly unofficially remaining in the second half, and the U.S. national team leading 1-0. The only goal of the match scored in the 3rd minute by Peter Vermees.
Murray has dropped now back into the midfield, although he'll still go forward. Benedetti came on, Eichmann went off, so Murray is now slid back into Eichmann's role in the midfield, and Benedetti has taken Murray's previous role as a front runner.
Byrne back into his defensive half, plays it back to Zoltan Toth, and he'll kick it out of there. Not a very good one at that. Now Vermees run off the ball, and David Byrne will bring it back for the MSL Select team.
Toth also having some difficulty with his distribution. It's much different outdoors for a goalkeeper than it is for a goalkeeper indoors in terms of when you do get possession, you're going to launch an attack. You have a much wider area and a bigger field to select from in launching your attack, and you have to deliver the ball over longer distances, and it's obvious that Toth having more of a problem than Dodd, who just hit this one 3/4 of the field.
Heading it back, Daryl Duran. Is it more difficult on the field players or the goalkeepers when you make this transition?
it's really just two different perspectives. The goalkeeping position is such a specialty in both the indoor variety of soccer and the outdoor variety of soccer that they have their adjustments too. There's no doubt about it. And the main one is probably the size of the goal that they're actually defending.
Rundfed took down Brian Bliss. Bliss is still down. They keep on playing. They say play on. Bliss is down towards the penalty area. Down goes Eric Eichmann, and we're going to get a timeout here as they attend, I believe, to Brian Bliss.
Bliss is down. He's been taking some hits today, and we see a lot of... In the middle of the field, we had a wrestling match going on, a Greco-Roman style wrestling match. Bliss was already down, the ball played in, and here's Peter Vermees, and on his back is Clavijo. Then Vermees starts to hold Clavijo and vice versa, and they're having their own tango as Eichmann takes off with the ball, but that's part of the game, and using your upper body to hold people off the ball or try and throw them off balance, and the referee ruled an advantage there and let the play on because Eichmann had the ball, and it was my mistake earlier mentioning that Eichmann was off. Actually, Winaldo went off. Eichmann is still out there playing for the U.S. team in the midfield.
(22-12) remaining in the second half.
Well, that's interesting because the U.S. team setting up for a free kick just over 22 yards from the goal line at 22-12. And Vermees, and Murray really likes to hit these. He can hammer the ball. I expect him, look to see him crack this ball and try and test toes.
Ball played in and over the crossbar.
They faked me out on that one. But we talked a little earlier about the difference for field players. There's also a huge difference for goalkeepers in terms of playing indoor soccer versus outdoor soccer. Zoltan told us about that.
Well, in outdoor soccer, there is more crosses, more diving. In indoor, if you dive, you lose your feet, and there can be more, goals. And in outdoor, you have to go with those crosses, and you have a ball, you have a goal punt, what is impossible in indoor. I think it's more action in indoor than in outdoor for a goalie.
They look for Benedetti, and another tough tackle. This time by Clavijo. Long shot handled easily by Zoltan Todt. And indeed it is a different game playing outdoor versus indoor.
Murray there electing to shoot. He does have a big right foot. They thought he would take it. But things here are starting to get a little rougher. Things starting to open up. Expect to see more chances on goal here because in usually the latter stages of a soccer game, indoor or outdoor, teams are a little bit tired. Defenders are not quite as diligent maybe as they would be in marking their opponents, and there are more chances on goal. And right now, it's the MSL Select team that really needs one.
In the last 6 or 7 minutes, probably 7 very tough tackles on both sides as the play is picking up in intensity. Eck feeds ahead to Paul Wright. He tries to go wide, now brings it back inside. Frazier, though, again with the left foot clearing. And again, Robin Frazier, every time they've asked, he has been equal to the test. And the throw in to the U.S. national team.
Number 12 is Paul Crumpy. Strong runner up this right side and a strong throw-in all the way up to Peter Vermees. There is no offside on a throw-in, so he can run as deep as he wants.
Clavijo is with him. And Clavijo just ticks the ball out of bounds across the end line, and a corner coming up.
There's Fernando Clavijo, who's been a key performer in the backfield for this MSL Select team, and one of the quicker players for years in the MSL. There he is trying to hold up Vermees, and he's quick enough to get a foot in, even though he uses arms first to slow Vermees up enough to get a foot on it.
Eric Eichmann centers out in front, headed high in the air by Rundfed, and headed out of the area. Balboa working his way past Mike Sweeney. Again crosses, looks for Murray, and Murray fanned on the shot, couldn't get anything on it, and it's finally cleared out of the area. Boy, but a great idea by the U.S. national team. On the counterattack, Preki looking for Borja, but getting there first, Mark Dodd of the U.S. national team.
Well, a prime opportunity just a moment ago for Murray wasn't able to put it on goal. Balboa doing some real nice work to get the serve in at first.
Peter Vermees, he has the lone goal in this match, as the national team looking for more.
We're going to look again at that chance by Murray. The ball coming in from the left side by Balboa, who spun away from a few defenders, puts the ball over Vermees, and there's Murray trying to get there with the outstretched right foot. Doesn't get enough on it to put it on goal, but a great chance, not taken advantage of by the U.S. team. They still only lead by 1.
On the throw-in, Robin Frazier. They cross it, looking for Crumpy. Right there, though, is David Byrne. He knocks it out to Borja. Borja starts it ahead to Preki. MSL Select team on the quick counter. Weak shot on goal by Preki. I think he would have liked to have had a little more on that shot.
I'm not even sure that he was actually shooting. He may have been looking for Paul Wright to make that near post run. Even if Wright had made that run, there's no way he'd have gotten to that ball. It did not have a proper angle on it. Preki not looking that energetic. He played quite a game the other night.
Here's Bliss beating out in front. Looked for Vermees, crosses in front, and it will be out of bounds. Boy, but a great play.
That's a tough ball to really get around in order to keep it in play on the cross. Vermees running away from the goal, spins around and hammers the ball on a drive to the opposite post. No one there to connect on it, but quite a bit of skill exhibited by Vermees to even get that cross in. Ted Eck visibly limping out there now, and you have to expect perhaps a substitution. Dale Irvine would be a likely candidate as we see him get up off the bench. Because he's a similar type of player. He brings the same type of qualities into the team. He's tall, he's strong in the air, he's a big shooter with the right foot and knows how to score goals. And so far, for the MSL Select team, they have not put one in the goal. Dale Irvine will be the answer for them.
Tie, second game in 3 days. We're now 16:54 away from the end of this one, or at least from the end of regulation. If it's tied at the end of regulation, we'll have penalty kicks. Is this where conditioning really becomes a factor?
It certainly can. And again, we mentioned the dimensions of this field, 120 yards long, which is the maximum for full international play, and 75 yards wide. So there's plenty of space out there, and it could be that the U.S. team is a little more accustomed to playing on these wide open spaces.
Paul Wright trying to muscle his way past Jimmy Banks. Does. But Banks with a nice deflection. Here's Desmond Armstrong trying to work his way back into the corner. Bliss one-times it, but held in. And here comes David Byrne as the MSL Select team continues to look for the equalizer. Now Preki, he's open. Crosses it in front. Oh, and the header is wide. And wide open in the penalty area.
Well, teams have traded 2 golden opportunities in just the last couple of minutes. Here the ball is worked wide to Preki by Ronfed. Preki looks far post. He bends the ball all the way through, and there's Borja looking for the diving header, and he glances it off the corner of his head rather than striking it flush on goal. That would have been a heck of a save by Dodd if it wouldn't have gone by him, if Borja would have been able to put it on goal.
And a foul pushing off against David Byrne as he collided with Bruce Murray. So Eric Eichmann on the free kick. And again, the U.S. national team with a 1-goal lead, coming down to just 15 minutes unofficially left in this one.
And the yells coming from the U.S. bench to get a few players back. Too many guys trying to run forward here looking for that second goal on this free kick. And you want to kind of hedge here. You want to try and make a few more chances of goal, maybe get that second one, but you don't want to risk too much by sending too many players forward.
Crumpy lofts it far side looking for Scott Benedetti. Right there, though, Ted Eck. Eck for the MSL Select team. Plays it ahead to Paul Wright. Let's see what he can do in the open field against Jimmy Banks. Here's Wright. Has good speed, but working on Jimmy Banks, who's a veteran.
Nearly as quick. Jimmy Banks, one of the quicker players for the U.S. team, so that's a great matchup in terms of speed.
Jimmy Banks almost became a member of the Major Soccer League about 8-9 years ago, trying out with the Kansas City Comets. Later played for the Milwaukee Wave and has really done well with the national team. Ball played in, crossed out in front, but Eichmann is there for the U.S. national team.
Getting back to Jimmy Banks, who, as you mentioned, grew up in the Milwaukee area. He's gone back now to Milwaukee to help establish and start some youth leagues in the inner city for young people to maybe stay away from drugs and get themselves a future in soccer. And that's a great tribute to a player who's able to follow up and go back to where he came from and do some good things like that.
On the corner kick, Chico Borja. And we're going to have a substitution here, as you mentioned. You predicted it, Dale Irvine.
I predicted Irvine coming on, but it's Sweeney who comes off, which makes some sense. You're trading really a midfield two-way player for one who's more an out-and-out attacker. And offense is what is needed for the MISL Select team if they want to tie this game up.
Irvine, a former All-American out of UCLA. Borja crosses it in front, fisted out of there by Mark Dodd. Dodd has played well.
Dodd has played well. He played at Duke University. In fact, won a national championship there a few years ago.
Eichmann wants to play it in, but it will belong instead to the MSL Select team. Of course, Ty, the head coach at Washington University here in St. Louis, and well, you look at all these players, all from, or at least for the most part, from the college ranks. It's got to be great for you to see.
We had a chance to scrimmage the U.S. team the other night, so that was fun. They thrashed us, of course.
Here's Irvine looking for Duran. Instead, it's Preki. His shot deflected. Finally cleared out of there to Bruce Murray. Tough tackle there by Kim Rundfed. Murray went down.
The United States preparing a substitute in Troy Dyack, number 14 for them. It looks like Bliss will come off. And this is a move to solidify their defense and try and protect their lead as they get a man with fresh legs on who is a tough young defender. Bliss has put a great deal of mileage on his legs today, being all over the field and really mixing it up with this MISL team who they tend to know how to foul, as I've mentioned. They have a lot of professional experience, and Bliss has stood toe-to-toe with them throughout the match, so a good performance by Brian Bliss.
Down to 11:50 unofficially, left on the second half clock. Here's Bruce Murray, feeding it towards the penalty area, broken up momentarily by Duran. Vermees gets it, his shot low along the ground, handled easily by Zoltan Todt.
Well, we have to make light of the missed penalty kick, too. When we talk about how this game has gone. The U.S. national team came out with an early goal, but not too long after that, the MISL had a chance with a penalty kick, which Preki hit on goal. Dodd saved it, and there's speculation that Preki didn't hit it hard enough, or perhaps he's more used to playing on AstroTurf where the ball runs quicker rather than on a grass field that may slow the ball up, and it may have slowed it up just enough for Dodd to save it.
Here's Byrne, starting at a head right side, Dale Irvine. Irvine wearing number 20. Plays for the Wichita Wings. And a long feed out of bounds. Well, this has been a tremendous exhibition of soccer skill, and it's amazing that we have this much talent playing in this country. It's got to make you feel good looking ahead to 1994. Ball played in, Paul Wright. Working with his back to the goal. That's something that the MSL players are very, very used to.
The MSL pushing forward with Preki.
Here's Preki, a shot, and he fired it wide. Preki great with either foot, but I tell you, he just whistled one wide of the national team goal, and here it is again.
Preki cutting across, as he likes to do, from the midfield, coming across the defense, and then getting around the ball with that left foot. He drills it low, not quite on target. Dodd appeared to have it covered, but the pressure mounting here for both teams, the U.S. team, whether they can hold up against this onslaught by the MSL Selects, and also for the MSL, the time is running out.
Again, they cross it in front, the ball deflected wide.
That was nearly an own goal. It nearly went in off the head of Marcelo Balboa as he tracked back. We'll have a look at it. The ball coming down the right side. It's crossed into the near post. There's Balboa. He just makes contact with the ball enough to almost get it past his own goalkeeper, Mark Dodd. Dodd did well then to get back and protect that near post.
The MSL Select team, obviously, with under 10 minutes remaining, pushing the ball up. Does that leave you vulnerable at the back?
It certainly does, and they've got some fresh legs up there themselves, and actually with Benedetti. And Vermees is always a threat, so you certainly are taking a chance, but you have to. You can't go down without shooting all your guns. Got Preki, who is also noticeably a little bit sluggish as this game has gone on. And he had such a performance less than 48 hours ago. I think it may have taken something out of him in terms of really being able to do some of the things that he's known for. Even still, he's threatened more probably than any other MSL player, except perhaps Ted Eck.
Morha gets it to Preki. Look out, Preki. Oh, nice defensive play there. Breaking the play up was Troy Dyack. And boy, Dyack came up big against one of the best one-on-one players in the business, Preki. Long feed, cross field. They've got Dyack in the box if they want him. They play it past. Eichmann has it loose, but the ball trickled away from him over the end line. And a goal kick coming up to Zoltan Tov.
Well, it's exactly what we're talking about, because the MSL Select team pushed players forwards. All of a sudden, there was a counterattack with a lot of space for the U.S. team to take advantage of. Dyack had made the steal. He rushed forward. The ball was played out to Eichmann. Eichmann nearly worked his way through, but Tov covered it well, and he came out and anticipated it.
Under 8 minutes remaining, and the pressure continues to build as David Byrne fouled.
We're going to see the MSL go to a few more desperate tactics here. We're down to just over 7 minutes to go. They're going to go for more high balls. Just get the ball into the box and see what happens. You can't afford to keep the ball out around the perimeter because the clock ticks away. So with a player like Irvine up there, with a player like Eck, you're going to see these higher balls pumped in there to try and shake something loose.
Preki working one-on-one. Ball loose, controlled though by Kim Ronfit. Now to 7:18 and counting. Now Paul Wright, his shot deflected. Wright
on
with the
ISO,
shot Dodd.
On our ISO camera, we have Preki taking up position near the top of the box as best he can, looking for any rebounds that might come out with that left foot. We see the card going to Daryl Duran as he mixed it up with the goalkeeper there, Mark Dodd. He's down. They have a look at the collision. Dodd starting to shake it off. Here's Dodd coming out from his left post. He gets to the ball first. Here's Duran sliding. He's there just an instant late. And his knees and the bottom of his shoes, the studs on his shoes, come up into the legs of Mark Dodd. He's still down. The trainer going to have a look at him.
Well, as we talked at halftime with Alan Rothenberg and Earl Foreman, president of the United States Soccer Federation and the commissioner of the Major Soccer League, there has been I guess, the forming of a new committee, and it's going to be chaired by Earl Foreman. Do you think, as you look at the backup goalkeeper?
The backup goalkeeper, he's from UCLA. He's the backup for Mark Dodd. And being a goalkeeper is hazardous, be it indoor or outdoor, as we saw Dodd there get slid into by Daryl Duran. Dodd appears to be okay, so MISL from UCLA will sit down, but you have to have that backup keeper ready just in case.
They're also looking at another player down in the field, and that may be Peter Vermees.
Looks like he may be having some problems with cramps in his calf muscles, something that he should be able to shake off and last for at least 6 minutes. We need to mention, if the MSL Select team could tie this game up in these last 6 minutes and 35 seconds, we would go directly to penalty kicks. There would be no overtime played.
6:34 to go unofficially in the second half. The U.S. national team leading the Major Soccer League 1-0. This, the second game of the Budweiser Challenge Cup from the soccer park in St. Louis. Boy, what a wild one we've seen here this afternoon. Some tremendous soccer, tough physical play. Eric Eichmann skies it over the crossbar. And what a marvelous soccer complex they have here in St. Louis.
It's been a magnificent day in terms of weather conditions, field conditions. I mentioned a collection of extremely talented players that all reside in the United States. Some of them American citizens, some of them not. Most of them actually American citizens. And an opportunity for the U.S. team to really hone their skills against some professional players, guys that have been pros for a long time, guys that are pros from other countries originally, and also a chance for these indoor players to have some fun and see what they can do outdoor.
Ball loose, finally collected by Chico Moreira. Gives up the field for David Byrne. Now to Ted Eck, back to Byrne. Time ticking down on the MSL Select team. They tied with the U.S. national team 2 days ago in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium.
That was an excellent ball by Byrne to switch the point of attack over to Ronfit. But what we're seeing right here is that the U.S. team may be just a little bit more organized. They have more of a team system. The MSL Selects rely more on individual plays and players because they have some very talented players. And to rely on that alone against a very organized defense maybe is not quite enough. You need to be able to play more collectively in combination to really beat a defense that is tenacious and well organized. And the U.S. team has pretty much closed things down quite well in front of their own goal.
Chico Borja on the dribble. And Borja, a guy who may be running out of gas. And ahead it comes. Benedetti on the dribble. Finally, it comes loose to David Byrne. Down to 4:22 unofficially left in the second half. And again, it's the national team holding on to a one-goal advantage. The MSL Select team really having to push up here. Comes ahead Daryl Duran. Duran working on Dyack, and Dyack with a nice defensive play just to poke it loose.
Well, Duran was really the sweeper for this team. He was more or less trading roles with Clavijo, but he was essentially the sweeper. Now he's pushed up into the midfield, which means that the MSL Select team is playing almost bare at the back. In other words, they're wide open one-on-one situations, which we saw just a moment ago with Benedetti and Clavijo, but Clavijo's so quick that Benedetti didn't even try and take him on.
Long chip towards the penalty area. Here's Vermees taken down, and what do we have?
Pointing at the spot.
We're going to have a penalty kick. Fernando Clavijo.
Have another look at it. Vermees very strong on the ball. He's able to keep his body between the defender and the ball, and here he does that. Clavijo getting his arms and that second leg in from behind to try and slow Vermees down. He did actually then pull him down and drag him down, and the penalty kick will result. So this could be the end for the MSL Select. Some of their attacking players looking a bit tired. It would have been tough enough for them to come up with one goal, much less two.
3:25 unofficially left in the second half. It will be Peter Vermees.
Well, maybe Toth can pay back Mark Dodd. Dodd stopped a penalty kick in the first half against the MSL Select.
So here comes Peter Vermees one-on-one against Zoltan Toth. And he scores! Peter Vermees, his second goal of the match on a penalty kick to make it 2-0. And you can see some of the shoulders kind of drooping a little bit on the part of the MSL Select team.
So it appears that the U.S. team, taking advantage of a very early goal, is going to prevail. We'll have another look at the penalty kick. Vermees was the guy, remember, who earned this penalty kick. He was dragged down by Clavijo. Now he'll take the kick. He gets Toth to lean the wrong way, and he pushes it the opposite direction.
Clock is running. MSL Select team needs a pair of goals, and they need them very quickly.
Really, the difference in that successful penalty kick compared to the one that Preki missed is that not only did Vermees get Toth to go the wrong direction, he put a little more on it. He hit that shot a little harder than the one Preki took and was stopped.
Tadiak taken down from behind. And a foul against the U.S. national team. Now under 3 minutes unofficially. The official time being kept on the field by Raul Dominguez, the referee. And look at the way the MSL Select teams play. They got one man back defensively. Everybody else up into the offense. And I believe we've just had another yellow card.
Eric Eichmann being shown the card. Most likely for encroachment. He didn't back up quickly enough and may have exchanged some words with Raul Dominguez.
Ball played across the penalty area, deflected and cleared out. Runfed chases.
Deflected by Eichmann. I don't know if he made his point.
Eck goes up.
Balboa got up better than him, though.
And here's Murray starting it ahead to Troy Dyack. Tough tackle in the midfield.
They played the advantage. I think Clavijo brought down Troy Dyack. Eichmann took a heavy hit, though, from Ronfed in midfield, and that's some frustration showing through. It's 2-0 with less than 2 minutes remaining unofficially. And the MSL Select defenders are going to take it out on some of the national team players.
Well, no matter who wins this ball game, it has really been an historic day. Here's a play, and it is onside. The shot, oh, Toth the save. Boy, Zoltan Toth came up big on Peter Vermees, who almost had himself a hat trick. He was going for goal number 3.
There's no one to beat except the keeper. Keeper did his job, Zoltan Toth, showing some of his experience there, waiting for the forward to make his move first, cutting the angle well.
Now Desmond Armstrong. Again, we're under 2 minutes. And that's it. It is a final. The U.S. national team winning by a score of 2-0. And with the score 2-0, we pause now for a regional break. You're watching Sports Channel America.
In Florida, a man jumps out of a plane, and when his parachute doesn't open, he falls 3,600 feet to the ground, bounces twice, and lives to tell the tale. Fact. Now you can enjoy thousands of true stories like these in Time Life Books' brand new Library of Curious and Unusual Facts. Start with Feats and Wisdom of the Ancients. Then there's a book on the mysteries of the body, and even one on vanishings. Examine the evidence. Listen to eyewitness accounts, and look at hundreds of astonishing photographs. You've never seen a collection of stories stranger, more fascinating, or more fun. Call now for your copy of Feats and Wisdom of the Ancients. Examine it free for 10 days. Keep it and pages $12.99. Other volumes will follow about every other month. If you don't think it's one of the most intriguing books you've ever read, you can send it right back.
Planning. Where'd I get the capital to start this business with my daughter? By investing for the long haul. And forget full commission brokers. I call Charles Schwab. Munis, mutual funds, blue chips, and I save plenty with Schwab's low commissions. Every day I tell my daughter, think long term. Make your own decisions. Be your own man.
For a free Schwab-backed kit, call toll-free 800-841-0300.
Watch some of the best soccer players compete in one of the oldest soccer leagues in the world. Direct from Great Britain, it's English League Soccer. Rugged and exciting action every week. See it exclusively on the Sports Channel America Network. The New Jersey Devils, young guns making a name for themselves in the tough Patrick division. The New York Islanders, entering a new era behind super scorer Pat LaFontaine. New Jersey versus the Islanders and the Caps versus the Flyers on Sports Channel America Tuesday.
We are back at the St. Louis Soccer Park. The U.S. National Team 2, the MSL Select Team nothing. Alan Rothenberg, president of the USSF, on your left. Earl Foreman on your right for the awards presentation.
Better be.
And it is fitting that Peter Vermees, he scored the 2 goals here this afternoon with the Budweiser Challenge Cup trophy, and we will get a chance to visit with him. When we come back, again, our final score, the U.S. National Team 2, the MSL Select Team nothing.
Is this one of America's all-time greatest sports moments? Find out by calling now for your free 45-minute video from the Sporting News. The greatest moments in American sports history.
Call 1-800-238-3100 and get your free video with 25 issues of the Sporting News for 3 payments of just $9.96. Save 52%. Call now 1-800-238-3100. That's 1-800-238-3100.
A final score again. The U.S. National Team 2, the MSL Select Team nothing. And Ty Keogh, the debate will rage on, but on this particular occasion, the day belonged to the U.S. National Team.
A fine performance for the U.S. National Team, and they're missing some of their performers from the World Cup in Italy, so they had some new faces in there, but they were pretty well organized. Had some strong goalkeeping from Mark Dodd. Peter Vermees put the goals away when he needed to. Preki, on the other hand, for the MSL Select team, from the indoor counterparts, was not able to convert his penalty kick.
Peter Vermees with a pair of goals today. It's on now to Poland and Yugoslavia for the U.S. national team. They'll begin a tour of those two countries coming up in just a couple of weeks. Today's Budweiser Challenge Cup has been